the moment, small drones, in particular FPV kamikazes, have become a key weapon in the war of attrition currently being waged in Ukraine. A NATO official recently told Foreign Policy magazine that FPVs caused more than two-thirds of Russia's tank losses in recent months, eclipsing artillery, guided missiles, and other weapons. Both sides are now turning out vast quantities of FPVs, but recently Russia's battlefield drone strikes have faltered while Ukraine's have surged as never before. What is behind Russia's failure? The FPV drone, a small racing quadcopter converted into a kamikaze, is a low-cost precision weapon capable of knocking out tanks and other targets from 20 kilometers/12 miles away. They have proven equally effective against artillery, infantry positions, and trucks. As 2023 wore on and thousands of FPVs were deployed, both sides started to appreciate just how important this new weapon was becoming. I've said it 100 times, and I'll say it again now: if our state doesn't throw large resources into this industry, FPVs, now, the situation will worsen dramatically for our troops in a couple of months. Ukrainian drone fundraiser warned last November. On the Russian side, in December, President Putin himself declared that there is a need to significantly increase the production and supply of high-precision munitions and drones. FPVs can be assembled from commercial components for less than $500, and Ukraine is sourcing them from dozens of small organizations, including the startup Eskadroni and non-profit Wild Hornets. A government initiative even encourages people to assemble FPV drones at home in their spare time, with more than 10,000 participants now signed up. These diverse efforts seem to have paid off. Ukraine reportedly produced some 50,000 drones in December and averaged more than 100,000 a month in January and February, well on the way to President Zelensky's goal of 1 million drones in 2024. Russia does things differently. While many small operations produce FPV drones, including the Ghoul and the Joker, these are financed by donations without government assistance. In Russia, production appears to be more centralized, and the Pseudo-Platov Group, a volunteer brigade-turned-drone-making startup, now receives funding from the Russian Ministry of Defense to produce drones. In December, Pseudo-Platov claimed to be making 1,000 FPVs per day, a claim which was supported by imagery of their production process. This is in line with other Russian drone efforts. They only have one official long-range drone, the Iranian-designed Shahid, now produced at a single factory in Alabuga, and one tactical attack drone, the Lancet, made by Kalashnikov. By contrast, a variety of Ukrainian companies make at least 15 types of long-range drone and several types of Ukro Lancet tactical drone. Up until December, Russia appeared to be carrying out as many, if not more, FPV attacks than Ukraine, though it was not clear who was ahead. Russian and Ukrainian commentators and bloggers note often that the adversary has more drones and can better operate them, says Samuel Bendit, an expert Russian drones and advisor to both the CNA and NAS. Soviet-style centralization can bring economies of scale, but the Soviet system had some huge disadvantages too, and these may lie behind the dramatic fall-off in the effectiveness of their FPV efforts. This week, OSINT analyst Danielle published a detailed report on FPV strikes by both sides up to the end of March. December 2023 marked a turning point for the usage of FPV drones in infantry operations. Since then, Ukrainian forces have continued to conduct more strikes than their Russian counterparts. The highest level of usage thus far for Russia has occurred in January 2024, with a steady decline observed thereafter, states the report. The report notes an increasing gap between the numbers after December, with Ukraine's lead increasing month by month. Ukraine's increased FPV production is producing visible results on the battlefield in terms of burning Russian vehicles and infantry casualties. Russia is not advancing at the same rate. Russian site Lastomia, which logs FPV strikes against Ukrainian forces, notes 605 successful attacks in December, 887 in February, plummeting to just 227 in March. It has been argued that the reason why more Russian vehicles are destroyed is because they are on the offensive and present more targets. But FPVs are now so abundant that they target individual foot soldiers, and again Ukraine is far ahead. OSINT analyst Andrew Perpetua, whose personal mission is to log and record every single attack, notes. In our stats, averaged over the past few months, we've counted an average of 45 drone attacks on Russian infantry per day and 12 on Ukrainian per day. On average, each anti-personnel FPV attack causes on one casualty, and the numbers are rising. Bendit suggests that Russian efforts may not be paying off due to the increased effectiveness of Ukrainian electronic countermeasures against FPVs. This certainly seems to be a major factor. For example, the Ukrainian United 24 effort recent supple 2,000 tactical jammers to the front, while Russian jammers have proven less effective. How is it that Ukrainian jammers are stopping Russian FPVs while the same effort by the Russians is failing to protect them? The one message that I hear consistently from everyone involved in electronic warfare in Ukraine is that it is a cat and mouse game. Jammers are constantly being updated and upgraded, and drone communications need to be updated every few months to stay ahead. Anything which cannot keep up, like the Skydio drones supplied by the US, quickly becomes toast. The Russian FPVs are not keeping up. War Translated quotes a Russian journalist writing in March that Sudoplatov drones initially looked good, but the drones turned out to be of poor quality. Plus, the enemy released separate electronic warfare for them. The drones began to turn over on approach. He notes that the two Abrams tanks destroyed by FPVs were hit by Ghoul and Piranha varieties from small suppliers, not by the far more numerous Sudoplatov Beat Vanguard Total World Stock KTF 0.0% 40s, which fell when used. Such reports are rare because any criticism of the armed forces or giving false information, that is, contradicting the official narrative, is punishable with a prison sentence under a 2022 law against discrediting Russian armed forces. Another War Translated source, a military instructor, made similar points in a post last week, noting that in the Bakhmut region Sudoplatov drones still operate at the same frequency specified by the manufacturer, and the enemy successfully puts them down.